Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
The processes. We'll be taking a deep dive into how parties are running the show. There is a semblance of parties preaching democracy and practicing something completely different. And this comes in the midst of the party primaries that, of course, have left a bitter aftertaste among quite a number of people. A lot of questions are being raised. The NRM has so far received close to 400 petitions from the parliamentary flag bearer race. What a process. It prompted the president to write 4 letters talking about the whole affair and promising to investigate and bring the culprits to book. The Forum for Democratic Change yesterday unveiled Nathan Nandala Mafabi after what they called a series of discussions and engagements that culminated into the current party president, Patrick Oboya Muriat, stepping down for Nandala Mafabi, and that automatically means Nandala will be the president come 2026. But on the other side, the spotlight now is also on the National Unity Platform as the vetting process for representatives at different layers continues. The case of the presidency was resolved during the delegates conference that again raised eyebrows on the manner it was arranged and the outcome. Tonight we ask, are internal processes making or breaking multi-party democracy? Welcome. I want in a very special way to welcome Honorable Robert Centenary, former Member of Parliament, currently Vice Chairman Forum for Democratic Change, joining us tonight. Professor Roger Barigayomwe, a political science lecturer at Kampala International University. The frontliner and aspiring Member of Parliament for older persons representing Eastern Region, Honorable Opondo. And
thank you.
Council George Musisi. Yeah, still in pencil.
That's correct.
I'm trying to be kind enough.
Yeah, but with the injection Kagwanja has just given me before we entered here, I think Kagwa has done a blood transfusion on me.
I thought that was a secret.
so my vehicle won't stop on the way.
George Musisi, Council for the National Unity Platform, and Honorable Dr. Chris Bariomusi, the giant from the hills of Kabali, and Minister for ICT, Kanungu, the man from Kanungu. Good to have you.
Thank you
a very good evening. I'll begin with you, Honorable Centenary. Well, there was a big headline. Nandala Mafabi is the official party flag bearer. Can you tell us how you arrived at this and what makes it such a big deal?
Well, thank you and good evening all our viewers. It was a series of processes. Definitely we had 2 candidates that nominated. They are all good, competent enough to carry on the mantle of presidential flag bearer. Without a doubt, if any one of them had been given to run this country, they would do it without fear or favor. So during the process of campaigning and consultations, obviously, we looked at 2 things. First of all, our process of electing a presidential flag bearer requires a delegates conference that is very expensive, and many of our members and supporters were worried about that expenditure.
You took a shortcut.
There was bet that if we saved that money, it would help us to support our flag bearers, councillors, LCs, members of parliament. They want posters, they want nomination fees, they want some support to campaign out there. So instead of calling for a delegates conference, we would rather negotiate But also we had elders interacting with each other. Wherever they went, the plea was that there should be consensus. And considering the past history of acrimonious elections, both for structures and presidential flag bearers, we did not want to go back to the same acrimony that has characterized our internal democracy. So when the elders...
Is this the new norm in FDC? Because traditionally, FDC has elected leaders, not anointed leaders.
There was no anointing. If somebody steps down, he has stepped down. You will not force him to proceed with the campaign. So there is no anointing. But FDC in our constitution, we provide for vetting, we provide for consensus building, we provide for election, which is voting. All those are part of our processes of getting a candidate. It has happened before that a presidential candidate has been given a flag without even competing for it. Dr. Besigye has done that before. So it's not a new phenomena in the FDC, and it is constitutional. The elders engaged because we had a candidate from Buteso, we had another one from Bugisu. There was an interaction, a series of them, including even religious leaders, by the way. And the last engagement was with the elders of the party from the different sub-regions. So we pleaded with our candidates to at least respect what the recommendation of the elders, which they said they adhered to. And yes, we are good to go, and we are happy that our choice of the flag bearer for the presidency is not regrettable.
Honorable Centenary, after Amuriat, the barefoot presidential candidate, performed dismally, garnering 3.26% from the presidential election, do you think Nandala Mafabi can turn around anything, especially coming from a party that's been hugely bruised?
You know, I've always told people that the person who does not expose his strength is the strongest candidate you can ever have. I have had an experience in an election where I was regarded as a weak candidate and I emerged victorious. But in an election where I posed as a strong candidate, I actually lost it because all the machinery was pointed at me, and because they knew now I was a strong one. So for me, I don't believe in making a lot of noise. I believe in doing my groundwork and surprising people. Those of you who think Nandala is a weak candidate, you're yet to get a surprise.
Dr. Baryomunsi, another contender to face off with President Museveni in the names of Nandala Mafabi. Do you imagine it's going to be a showdown? On one part you have Mugisha Muntu, Nandala Mafabi, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, Kabuleta on the other hand.
Even Katumba, boy.
Well,
and the list continues.
First of all, it's NRM that ushered in this democratic dispensation that Ugandans who feel they are eligible can offer themselves for any position from the level of the president to any other position. So they are welcome, but definitely they are no match President Yoweri Museveni. For us as NRM, we are fielding President Yoweri Museveni. And while they are welcome, I think they will perform extremely very poorly, as usual. So Honorable Nandala, yes, I congratulate him for the elevation of the presidential candidate. That is if he meets the requirements to be nominated as a candidate. But whether...
Yeah, but you're looking at Nandala, who until recently has been a power...
Where?
A power center in Eastern Uganda.
Where?
In Eastern Uganda.
How do you measure that power-centeredness.
Remember,
Yes, he has been winning a parliamentary seat
even
like
in the
all of us.
2011 election when he faced off with Bagudea, with all the state machinery, and you see he's entrenched himself so much.
All of us are powers in our constituencies, but the parliamentary election and presidential election are miles apart. Because parliamentary election, you are localized in your constituency. But the presidential election, you are talking about from Karamoja to Mugezi, from Western Nile to Bukedi, the whole country. And
yeah, but you can look at it as the dynamite of Eastern
You can look
region.
at it from Nandala Mafabi, a flag bearer for FDC. How strong is FDC in this country? It has been shattered by the internal contradictions that they have faced. Like in Western Uganda, where FDC had its home in the name of Kiza Besigye and so forth, is no longer there. Nobody can dare in a larger Western Uganda pick a flag on FDC, say Ankole, Mugezi, and so forth. So how will he mobilize support there? How? So it's good he gives it a try.
Is there anything that you would admire about the FDC process that culminated into the election of Nandala or the appointment of Nandala?
Well, they should have legitimized his candidature through a delegates conference so that he has that anointment by the delegates. But just to appoint you from an office room, I think that denies him legitimacy. Maybe hopefully they will still hold a conference to give a nod. But
Professor Roger, do we look at FDC as a yardstick for internal democracy and maybe their model? Do you see anything worth emulating by other political players?
First of all, I congratulate them over what to me I thought was a comedy, because most of us saw that Nandala was coming as a candidate. But because I think of the fear that what the public had perceived as a party which had been bought by the NRM, then they said they have to act their comedy up to the end. We knew. And indeed, if you know, we've been following the FDC contestation, you would find real debate from the beginning to the end. When, for example, Mugisha Muntu faced off Kiza Besigye. But these two knew. And remember, they were the point of accusation from the FDC which broke away, that they had taken the money. So now, to us observers, analysts, we saw as if they were playing a game which in the end would end up with Nandala Mafabi. But somehow, like Honorable Sentinel said, they had to continue their act. And remember, now even they credited the source that theirs was more about monetary value. And he said we had to save money. This money they had to save and come up with what they knew, because we followed campaigns. We didn't see any hot spot where these two were contesting. And clear, like you said, Simon, that it was known that power had become weak, especially from the results of the past election. So he was not interested in the presidency. He himself knew Nandala would come, but they wanted to put up sort of a legitimate thing, because FDC, and it rhymes with our debate, FDC was, to me, the point of success of NRM to build party democracy. But NRM along the side, they came to kill its baby. NRM came to kill FDC through what we believe, most of us analysts, through Nandala and power. And now, like Honorable said, Baryomunsi said that now they are celebrating that FDC is not in Mugezi. Kiza Besigye was the FDC after he's being confined, which to me is unfortunate for Uganda, because if you see FDC was a party of about more than 15 years experience, because FDC built from powerful reform agenda to FDC. And after all these experiences, NRM comes to kill it. And like I've said, it's comedy. I believe Nandala will only stay maybe in Bugisu. He's strong there, but I don't see.
Why are you wishing him away too soon?
No, what
Remember, he was one of the pillars that supported the Besigye. Now you're trying to acclaim as having been a strong man.
Exactly. If Nandala had succeeded Besigye like we thought it would be, he would be a very strong man. And like I told you, NRM saw it very fast in their strategy. I think they tried to destroy them at that point, and they did not notice it. And now, one, they've killed party democracy because, for example, FDC is destroyed, PFF is also not going to come out, and now for them they are comfortable with contesting with NOP, which does not have that party experience.
Councillor George, for the past several years, the relationship between the National Interplatform and Najjana Nkumbi has been frosty. What does the arrival of Nandala Mafabi now, as the party flag bearer for the presidency, mean to you?
I don't think it means anything different. And I think at the expense of sounding like Honorable Sinary's advocate, if this is okay, there are two things. There is legality and legitimacy. The first test, did their processes satisfy their internal regulations and constitution? Yes, if that's what he's saying. Secondly, legitimacy is given by the people who are most concerned. That is the membership, especially of FDC.
He says the elders sat.
Well, even if whether they sat or not, there are two candidates, and one of the candidates pulls out in any process. What do you say? Does their constitution say that you open up nominations? Is there anyone who's complaining that you are locked out? If you are crucifying them only at the expense of going through a process which is predictable, look at Honorable Badiom's party. In terms of predictability, they have had the other day someone came for the post of chairman and Tango Doi said, no, that was resolved years ago. Then a few days later said, okay, you can come. So if you talk about predictability, I think many of the parties, even in some office bearers, you can say that in this position they are going to bring this person. I've heard of a party which says all incumbents are not going to be subjected, all incumbent MPs are not going to be subjected to a fresh contest. I've had.
When you talk predictability, is it any different from NUP?
Well,
where we knew the principle automatically,
that
slot is not challenged.
That's what I'm saying, Simon, that the essence is not about coming up with a different person. The essence is there any person who was interested in that position and was locked out. Secondly, there are some issues that are, if you look at one of the biggest democracies in the world, US, which has had a democracy for a very long time, and you look at the way they come up with their presidential contenders, you know that Biden was almost forced out of the race. We saw that. They were behind the scenes negotiations to see that maybe we bring a different pace. Just as it happened in 2016, because Biden wanted to come, and then they said, no, you stand aside, let Hillary come in. So the essence, let's look at the core, with the fundamentals of a democracy, that one, there is inclusiveness, are all concerned parties given a fair chance to compete. Because the last time, you remember, if you look at in 2015, the National Resistance Movement, when the Secretary General wanted to stand against the chairman, they even amended the constitution to ensure that, no, let's have a different Secretary General who is not electable. So for me, I wouldn't want to look at it in the sense of the outcome, but look at the processes. And I would be most concerned if there is a person who is aggrieved, who was locked out unfairly, because that is what the legality would look at. And whether Honorable Nandala Mafabi will get the traction, and of course FDC is suffering from what the bite set itself. We were used to competitive internal there are
Internal
elections, right, from Dr. Kiza Besigye and Mugisha Muntu in 2000, then Mugisha Muntu and Besigye again, then Nandela Mafabi and Mugisha Muntu. So we are used to that. When we saw the bromance between these two candidates, that they would even share campaign podiums, of course it looked like it was an act, it looked like it was a ritual that they were going through. And that is because we are not used to that kind of FDC, of where candidates are competing against each other and they are almost holding each other by the hand. But whether he gets the traction, whether he brings back the FDC that we're so used, that is a matter of politics.
Okay.
That's a matter of politics.
Is the emergence of Nandala Mafabi reigniting the spark in the Forum for Democratic Change?
I don't think so, because he's inheriting, of course, a number of challenges. He's inheriting a party which has had some bad public relations for a while, especially in some areas. It has lost ground in some areas. You know that there were some areas where FDC was very strong, which have since been taken over. And politics is like that. Politics, people move on. And of course, he's inheriting a party where, like you've rightly mentioned, that there have not been a lot of cordial relations, either deliberately or otherwise, with parties. So he's inheriting a weaker FDC than the FDC of yesteryear. Now it will call upon his leadership skills, and it will depend on the kind of FDC that Nandala wants. Does he want the FDC which is sending an olive branch to all the other partners and fighting, or an FDC which is in a fighting mode with the partners and then the other people as well?
Thank you. It's Nandala now at the helm of the FDC. What's your take?
Well, first of all, I congratulate him and the FDC for crowning their leadership, and to pick from Centenary, mainly to avoid a possible further split, and also to save money. I hope the source of the data money, I would have expected that the source of the data money could have given them, and so money shouldn't have been a big issue. Now, this crowning is a major departure for FDC. Like Musajja said, the calm, the FDC we are used to, is where there is vibrancy in the internal contestation, particularly at the party, national party leadership and the flag bearer. But give it to them, having seen that because of that contestation, FDC at each of the past elections, the last 5 elections we have held under multi-party, they have had a split. And so if it leads to a split, it's good, you avoid it. And if it is provided for that you can reach leadership by consensus, you bring some MPs, you bring others, you bring elders, you bring different constituencies that you think can help you mediate, and is provided for in the internal rules, there should be no reason for us to question them.
In the build-up to the crowning,
yes,
did you see any processes, or it was more of a facade?
Even if it was not there, provided it is allowed in the party. NRM, soon after 2021, we went to Murchison Falls. And we agreed, we said, where we see Uganda is going, it is good for us to maintain Yoweri Museveni. And we have lived to that billing 5 years later. It is provided for in our internal. You have not had anywhere where we try to call for somebody to come and challenge the president. In fact, if somebody tried, we would have run over that person. Because we would know he is removing a winning manager, is removing a winning captain. Is trying to disturb a scorer.
Is that democracy?
It is.
That internal democracy?
Yeah, for NRM. For NRM. For us, Museveni is not just a product, he's also a brand. And we have no issues for now. The people who have issues with us, because we have taken that, they can use another method to get their leaders. Now, Honorable Nandala is my friend. I spoke to him last night, but somehow he didn't tell me that he had been crowned. Now,
crowning sounds vulgar.
No. Now, first of all, let me correct you. When you say he is a kingpin in the East, does he influence the politics in the Jinja, in the Busoga?
In Bugisu.
No, so that's your concept of East? That's the understanding of East. Because you say
The
it's
Far
king-
East. Let's look at the Far.
Okay, let us even take the Far East up to Karamoja. Does it influence the politics there? The next neighborhood of Honorable Nandara's constituency, district which is Sironko and Bulambuli, is Kapchoro, is Sebei. Is there any seed of FDC in Sebei? Sebei has 3 districts: Kapchora, Kwen, Buku. Have you ever heard that there is even LC3 chairperson who's FDC there? If he's such a... Have you heard that there is FDC in Tororo, the next area?
Yeah, there is a Kanya.
No, okay, out of 9 MPs and you have 1. And is a Kenya MP because of the strength of FDC or the other dynamics in that area?
Which is itself, how many?
So, please, first, that correction, he is not the kingpin of Eastern region, let alone Bugisu, because Bugisu has the other districts, has 7. There's no FDC in Manafa. There's no FDC in Namisindwa. There's no FDC in Bududa. There's no FDC in Bulambuli. But there are sprinkles of FDC and MPs in Sironko.
Thanks to Nanda.
And no, I think any other person would have. If you look at the political dynamics we have gone through over the last 40 years, any other opposition party could have, because of the unfulfilled expectation NRM hasn't met in a number of places. So, now, is it going to change? Is this going to change?
The odds for 2026.
I think FDC is up against a huge odd. First of all, they have a public relations image problem. I don't think it's going to be so. And image problem where Honorable Nandara may be falsely or otherwise is being accused of. My suspicion that is Honorable Nandara is trying to run away from that accusation, false as is, by leaving a constituency, a parliamentary constituency, to a presidential. Chances are, because of the movements I've been doing for this campaign, I seem to see that it does not have much to offer on the ground. And this is one tactical way to pull off from elective politics without saying I have pulled out. He's going to pull out from MPship. He could have won, but he's trying to pull off from out of MPship. He's going to lose the presidential miserably, and then he will rest his case. He will rest his case in elective politics.
How do you compare Nandala with Power in terms of traction?
Power was a dead
charisma.
horse. Power was a dead horse from inception. You remember, Power had even lost in Kanyum, his sub-county. So, please don't compare Power to... And Nandara has been the person running FDC, even when Power was the president. In terms of the political dynamics, in terms of the resources, who is looking for the resources. I hear Power is now going back to a parliamentary constituency in Kanyum. I am in Teso. I don't think it's going to get it either. So, I don't think FDC has much, whether you bring Nandara or any other person, that FDC is going to have energy in this coming election. I don't think so. They are incapable. I don't think Honorable Nandara is going to recover what FDC lost. They can't recover Teso, I can assure you of that one. They cannot recover Choli. They won't recover even Kasese, where my young brother Centenary is. They won't recover Kungiri. No, it is not possible. But they look at...
So you want to say their ground is shifted?
Look at the 28 MPs FDC has. You know, FDC has never... The first time they scored highly, they got 39 MPs. Subsequent elections, they have been coming down. They now have 29. Out of the 29 sitting MPs, as a result of those accusations we have all referred to, look at how many have gone to other parties, how many have remained. That will give you an indication. Because if sitting MPs knew that sticking with the FDC would win them back their seats, they would keep with the FDC. But you have seen Asinasi has moved on to somewhere else. You have seen yes, all. You have seen the one of Kunjiri Rubabo, I think Rubabo. You have seen the one of Kabali. So I don't think FDC with the Nandana or no Nandana that is going to have a fire in its belly. No.
Honorable Centenary.
What Nandana is doing is what Matthias Mpuga is doing. Yes. Just
finding the soft landing.
Soft landing. If possible, at least let him retain Mukungwe.
Well, interesting. Honorable Centenary, what would it take for the FDC to turn the narrative from being a lame duck political party to a formidable force?
You know, first of all, let me first clarify one thing about Nandala's departure. After serving as Member of Parliament for 25 years, really, and you progress to presidential candidate, I think there's no harm in that. And also, I want to tell you that all the political parties that have existed in this country, apparently, it is the FDC that has outgrown the syndrome of a strong personality. If you look at these other political parties, you realize that they are all rallying themselves around a strong personality. NRM will tell you, Awam 70, we can't release him. Another party like that, you can see even our brothers in the UPC. They are still Obote. But at least FDC has outlived that, outgrown that, and this shows institutional growth in the FDC.
And maybe
some
it's your
people
undoing.
may think,
maybe it's your undoing.
No, it's not. You know, whereas some people thought that the departure of those strong individuals would lead to the collapse of FDC, it is still standing and standing strong. By the way, let me tell you, we shall come back here after 2026 elections and you will see the results. I don't want us to trumpet a lot, but we're a party that has strategy. We've moved out from activism, issuing threats that we are not going to fulfill, but back to the chessboard.
Okay, you're being haunted.
So we know...
You're being haunted by allegations of money, allegations of being an extension of the state, and all these are hovering over your heads.
Allegations are everywhere, I can tell you. Even within the NRM itself, you've seen people shouting, saying, you people are eating alone, for us we are not eating. So the money is everywhere, even in the ruling party. The allegations of people eating and others not eating, those ones are there and they are there to stay. Even tomorrow you'll hear those allegations. So for us, it's not, those are diversionary statements.
Yeah, but
we are keeping our eye on the ball. That is our main focus.
Power managed to bring in at least 31 legislators. 31.
Yes.
31.
There were 32.
32. With all the splinters, with all the cracks that have emerged in the Forum for Democratic Change, how much do you think Nandala can bring to the party?
Now, let me tell you something. My brother was talking about incumbents who have moved. He was mentioning some names. You see, those are some people. We have people who believe that without the blessing of a certain strong personality, they may not make it. Even if there are people who don't believe in themselves, they're not daring enough to live up to the mantle, the challenge. You see, when you're going into an election, you're not going there because you have a strong party president or a strong presidential candidate. FDC, during its formation, it started from a spirit of voluntarism, where everyone believed they can go for it. And at that time, the situation was even tough, to the effect that even the population, whenever you would identify with FDC, they would look at you as, they would start wondering what kind of brains does this person have. But over the years, 20 years now, we created a narrative in this country that everybody can participate, everybody can bring out their potential, and they can still take lead. That's why many of these political parties, from the example, the activism, the spirited fight we've been putting up in the last 20 years, are now coming up. We have built the confidence of multi-party and opposition politics in this country. Actually, I can tell you that FDC has been a school for multi-party politics in this country.
Well, we'll take it up from there, still looking at internal party processes and asking, are they making or breaking democracy? Or do they expose the delusion of multi-party democracy? That and much more after the break. Good evening.